All right, good morning and welcome to the Game Dev Show. Today we're having a very special version of the Game Dev Show live from the Unity office at GDC. And we've got a bunch of really awesome guests. Some are off screen right now, and one is right here. We got Brian from Serenix. I'm sure you've all seen Odin Inspector and Odin Validator. We're going to talk about that maybe a little bit, but I also really want to talk a lot about just GDC, what's been going on, because we're on day 3 now. Well, the summit's been going on, and then the expo all kicks off today. So welcome, Brian. Welcome, everybody out there.
Great to be here. Thanks, Jason.
Before we get too much into it, I just really wanted to talk about any quick Odin updates. You had a couple new things that came out in Odin.
Yeah. We've been updating regular. We have a team on it now. We've been able to hire some people recently, and so we have the latest updates we have were support for addressables in Unity, and then support for the localization in Unity also, which is a big deal. That's not available yet on the asset store, but you can get it on our website if you want to try it out.
Sweet.
So, and then, lots of other fun, shiny objects.
Nice. So, yeah, definitely, if you haven't tried an Odin Inspector, you should just go grab it and check it out. I say that enough, though, that you probably all already know that. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about GDC. So, how many times have you come to GDC?
This would be my 4th GDC, I believe. The first one I came to, I didn't have a ticket. I just came up here to just be around the game dev industry. So
Nice.
I didn't know anything about anything, so I thought I'd come up here. And I ended up being in the Unity offices. Even though I didn't have a ticket, I signed up for all these meetings that you had in here, so it was great. Yeah,
Oh.
and I love it. I love GDC. It's great.
That's awesome. And how do you think this GDC compares to the last ones?
Well, so far, it feels like a good energy, I would say, right? I haven't been on the conference floor yet. We're going to go there after this. But just getting here, getting my badge, seeing all the people, it feels like there's a good energy. I don't know, it's been a little tough in the industry lately. So it feels good to see that, and I'm looking forward to going to the conference floor and seeing more of that. I get excited seeing all the people. Like we're on Zoom calls all the time, and we're all remote, and we deal with people all around the world. But when you get to see them in person at a show like this, it's irreplaceable, really. It's so awesome. You can't see everybody though. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, you can see them all. I just can't talk to them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
There's
it.
a lot of people, a
Yeah,
lot of really fun and interesting conversations. And I'm curious, on the expo side, is there anything that you were looking forward to or really wanted to go check out? Or just wanted to go explore?
You know what I like? One of the things I really like about GDC is where they have the new or the innovative games or whatever, where they use like different like hard objects
The
with
alt
the games.
control
Oh,
section?
I love it! I
Yeah.
can go sit in there for a long time, And it's neat when you see some of those actually make it to market too. Like later on, like, oh yeah, that's that one game. It's cool. So
Oh, yeah.
I like that. I'm looking forward to just seeing everything. I love it. I can go around there and just be there all day and just have a good time.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I really love just going around the expo floor, talking to all of the people, and then seeing the new tech. That alt control one is really cool because correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it mostly just students working on alternate controller projects there?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just like the section.
I know they're right near the student section where you can see all kinds of really cool projects from people in college that are kind of coming up. They got interesting kind of unique ideas a lot of the time. You see things that you wouldn't normally see coming out of the industry.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think that's why I like it too, because they're young people. But this industry as a whole, when I first got into it, when I first actually came to a real GDC, when I got a ticket, I remember going around thinking, man, I was pinching myself like, this is an amazing industry. People are young, they're smart, they're energetic, they're happy generally. And I just think that's amazing. And maybe I'm not seeing it right, but now several years in, it is that way, And so you go there and you see these people with the passion they have for the things they're creating, and I love it. It's just a great energy. It really is. I think game devs can solve all the world's problems. Perhaps, maybe. I don't know.
I guess we'll see. I gotta get closer to my mic.
Oh.
Apparently, I'm talking into yours too.
Nice.
You would get it figured out. Anyway, so there was something else. I wanted to really quickly. We were talking about this before the stream. I almost lost my train of thought about how we met, because I think that for everybody watching out there, if you're trying to get into the industry, trying to figure out how to make some contacts, how to meet new people, the story for how we met was pretty interesting. Kind of also, I think, how you got into the game dev industry. You can talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I want to say thanks for all the love you give us, Jason. It's really awesome. But when I did get into the industry, I didn't really know much about it. I come from the printing industry prior to this, and I thought, hey, I'm going to go around and just look for meetups. How can I meet people in this industry? And so there was a meetup near where I live in Southern California, and I went to it. And I just showed up. I didn't know anybody. I just started talking to people in the room, and then I saw this guy with the beard, and I thought, he must be somebody. People are talking to him, and he was speaking. And then he came up to me and said, "Hey, I heard somebody from Odin was here." And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." He wanted to meet me,
Yeah.
And then we became friends right then. I think, I asked you like, "Hey, can I come down and buy you a coffee? I want to pick your brain about the game dev industry." And Jason was so cool about that. I drove down. We went to coffee and spent, I think, 2 hours just talking about all things game dev. And it's been a great relationship ever since, We like to say like Jason's community is our community. And it really does feel like there's such a synergy. Am I not by the microphone?
Oh, you're good.
live broadcast.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's just been such a great synergy between our community, I think, and it's been neat to see how that's all the journey, since the time when we met, and that was like, I think 2018, I want to say.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember I was really excited. I was like, oh, somebody's here from Odin. Like, I use that all the time. That's awesome. I would have never guessed. But I feel like that happens a lot at the meetups, user groups. You just run into people and find out they're doing something really awesome and start to make a bunch of friends and connections. In fact, that's probably like where most of the people that I talk to on a daily basis, from groups like that.
But I really think that I meet young people, that are just getting into, games or whatever. They come here, it's their first GDC. I always encourage them to do it. Go to a meetup, find a meetup. Talk to Jason, talk to some of these people. That you might have a synergy with. Get to know them, build a relationship with them. And a lot of these young guys, they can't step out or they don't want to step out, but they do. And when you see them, I don't know. I think it's great. Just go up to them, talk to them, help them, And there's a lot of that going on here. And I think over the years, you get to see those guys come back to you and see them do things and succeed. And it's just wonderful. It really is.
Yeah, you see that a lot at GDC too, where people.
Yeah, for sure here.
Oh wait, I am showing up on both mics. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll have to fix that in between for our next one. By the way, for everybody watching us live, up next we're gonna have creators of Gaia, and then Opsiv, and then after that we're going into Unity 6. So we'll be talking a lot about some of the new Unity 6 stuff that's coming out. So this should be pretty interesting. I'm curious, Brian, was there anything on the Unity 6 side that you were excited about that you saw?
You know what what I really like is what I'm hearing. That's the other thing. Being here at GDC, I like what I'm hearing from Unity. I've been ever since we were at Unite. So the language that it feels like they're going the right direction. Our whole team feels like that. Anything specific in Unity 6? Not sure exactly. Other than I hope that they're executing on what they're saying. It does look that way from everything I see, and the other asset store publishers that I'm talking to since I've been here, I think there's a similar sentiment. So I'm happy about that. I am. I love Unity. I think Unity's amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So I'm pretty excited about it myself. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot more in the next day. I don't know what all the announcements are that are coming out, but I saw the roadmap session of the first one, and that was.
Well, what about a feature you like in Unity 6? Anything in particular? I'm interviewing Jason.
There's a lot. For me, I think the biggest stuff is the multiplayer. So the new changes to multiplayer stuff that are coming. It's gotten. I mean, with the last year or so, it's gotten quite a bit better already, and the upcoming changes towards the unified netcode stuff sounds really interesting. The new netcode distributed authority setup is really interesting. But again, I'm a little bit biased because I'm heavily focused on multiplayer stuff right now.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, let me take a drink real quick. Mute that. I'm curious, on the asset store side, you guys have been doing that for a while, right?
Yep.
What is that like for people who, because one of the things I want to talk about, there's a new sale, by the way, if you haven't seen it, just popped up a new 3D Essential sale on the Asset Store. So you can check that out on the Asset Store page right now, probably, right?
Your video's unlisted.
Oh, okay. Well, let's change that so that everybody can see. All right, hold on.
We got to start over.
No. Let's go change that. This is
The Asset Store is awesome. Andrew's amazing.
uh-oh.
He is.
No, yeah. Let's see. Hold on. Let me find this. This link. There we go. And there we go. That would explain things. All right. So welcome back. Now we're back.
We're back. I didn't know we left.
After a real quick pause to fix an issue with the stream. Anyway, so still back here talking with Brian about Odin Inspector and GDC. This has been fun and interesting. If you haven't checked out Odin, go check it out for sure. We got 5 more minutes. So Brian, what would you recommend for people who are coming out to GDC? So somebody wants to come for their first time. Maybe they didn't make it this year, but they want to come next year. How would you recommend that they go about? Like, should they plan to go to all sessions? Should they just get an expo hall pass? Should they just come for like a day or two? How would you recommend it for somebody like their first time trying to come out and experience this event and do it the right way? Like, if you were doing it the first time again, what would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends a lot what you're what you're doing, right? But or what you want to make or what your goals are. But I would say this is a foolproof way to go to GDC is just go and meet as many people as you can. There's so many different like peripheral events around the actual conference floor, and they're awesome. Like there's like speed networking things, and there's yesterday there's talks in all the West Hall and everywhere else, and just in the hallways themselves and on the streets and the restaurants, there's people everywhere from GDC, and you just meet as many of them as you can. I also just something that I've done in the past, and it's for all conferences, is try to keep your calendar open if you can. It's hard sometimes. Maybe if you're just coming new, that's not so hard. But you get in these conversations, and if you have to go from one meeting to the next, you're just looking at your watch, and you can't pay attention to the guy you're talking to or the person you're talking to. And I just think that's the richness of these events is that, like, those conversations, those people you meet, you never know. I mean, you'll meet them at Gamescom in Germany or something, and you're walking down the hall, hey, what's going on, and it's like over time, it doesn't even take that much time, really. Next thing you know, you have lots of friends in the industry, and that's really what it's about. Your friends, they help you out, they promote you. Jason, like I said, he's always talking about Odin. We're not asking him to do it or telling him, or, and we just really appreciate it. And, yeah, it just works like that. I really think the network effect and just being cool with people is a foolproof way to succeed.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I would say for people who are coming out, like if it's your first time coming to GDC, maybe just get the expo pass and don't worry too much about sessions and all that. You can watch them afterwards, but you can easily, I think, occupy 3 days just talking to people and going to all of the other side events, all of the free stuff that's going on, like Brian was mentioning, and all of the things just kind of in the general area. It's weird. It's like there's also a dozen parties every night, and they're all like nerd video game parties where there's Pac-Man music playing and Mario Brothers. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Something else I would say too is don't be afraid to talk to your heroes. Like everyone's very very accessible, it seems like, in this industry, and I think they want to talk to people. And sometimes I feel like people, like younger people, get intimidated, right? Like, I can't talk to that guy, he's a CEO, but you actually really can, and I encourage people to do it.
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing. I still get that myself too. I go talk to people and I'm like, oh, you created this giant game that I play. Like, oh wow, like you founded that, and you funded the founding of that. It's like,
they're like, wow, I watch you all the time on YouTube. Hey, right?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. Well, anyway, Brian, I think we've only got a minute or two left.
All right,
we're gonna switch over to Procedural Worlds and talk about Gaia, and not just Gaia, some awesome, interesting new stuff that I think you'll probably all be really excited about. Some awesome unannounced tech. So,
all right,
very cool. So thanks again, Brian.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jason.
We have to
Appreciate
come
it.
on again and just do like a full show
might do
about
that.
some of the new stuff.
Yeah,
sometime.
maybe we'll do that. All right.
Awesome, man.
Thanks,
Really
Jason.
good seeing you.
All right. Thanks, man.
And we'll switch up in just a second and have our next guest on.
Next.
You have to dance off stage.
I have to dance off
Yeah,
stage.
you can't walk off. Do a little dance move. Yeah, so thanks everybody. And come on in, Adam. Okay. Next up, we're going to be talking about Storm, which
Storm.
I assume a lot of you probably haven't heard of. I'm sure you've all heard of Gaia. I can't imagine anybody watching doesn't know what Gaia is. And you just first, thanks for coming on and doing this. But are there any, before we get into the exciting Storm stuff, are there any Gaia updates or things we should mention or talk about?
We've got a nice new Gina update coming out shortly. We've done a lot of work on instrumentation and making that more powerful with the road creation. And Gaia, we update that all the time. So, every time we find a new issue, Unity changes an API. We
That would never happen.
No. It's always good.
Nice. So, I think it'd be great if we just get right into the exciting thing. So, you've got a new offering, a new awesome new technology that I think people would be really excited and interested to hear about. Even Powell here, Nature Manufacturing, I'm sure they'd be interested too. So, you want to tell everybody what it is and what's going on?
Sure. You know us from Gaia, and that's a very powerful tool. I've got this. I want to be able to do the real world in real time, and I really want to amp up the quality of what we do. So for the last several years, we've been working on a product called Storm, and Storm it's an acceleration system, so it makes your Unity scenes go faster. In one demo, we went from like 20 frames a second to 150, just on low poly. And then it's also all about procedural generation as well. So we've taken like a holistic approach to this. So it does everything from natural environments like terrain and biomes and all this sort of stuff, but also build environments like dungeons and cities and cool stuff like that. So we're very excited. By taking this holistic approach to it, we can really push the performance and the quality.
That is interesting. I didn't know that. I knew about the terrain side and the big world. So is it kind of the same problem that you're solving with both of those, or is there a big difference in there?
Yeah. So performance is one of those challenges, right? As soon as you try to do something that's richer and denser in Unity, you kind of run into some challenges. It's not easy to do because it's technically very difficult to make something look good and run fast. So we've basically spent several years trying to crack that problem.
Yeah.
Our new terrain system for Unity is pretty cool. It works with Unity's terrain, but it also sits on top of Unity's terrain. So, we have advanced tessellation, virtual texturing, mesh blending, mixing of textures, all that sort of standard stuff. But it runs really, really well and looks amazing.
That is really cool. Can you talk about the the scale of the worlds? I mean, how large they are? What is it that people are going to see?
Yeah, sure. So when we're talking scale, one of the challenges, often when you're building something in Unity and you want it to kind of run well, just go to your Discord. The links are in there.
Oh yeah, let's pull it up. We're gonna pull up the video too.
Yeah. So you go and do something large, and it kind of. I put the terrain system up. That's really cool. That one, yeah, that's pretty. You go and do something large and draw distances. So we're trying to shrink the draw distances down, all that sort of stuff. And with our system, we've kind of focused from day one to be able to do to the distant, as far as you can see, but also make it run well and look good. So once you get used to not having to artificially limit the draw distances by putting fog and all this other stuff, you kind of go, wow, I wish I'd had this forever.
Let's see if we can get this up here so everybody can see exactly what it looks like too. It's much more, I feel like it's much more impressive when you see the visuals.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just a quick demo we put together for GDC. So but kind of gives you a sense of what this thing can do. You know, you compare this to your regular Unity terrain, and it's not too shabby. So you've got live mesh blending going on there, and yeah, a whole lot of depth mixing, and we used a bunch of Megascans assets there, but it just it's really fun. Looks pretty cool too, doesn't it?
Oh no, it looks yeah, it's beautiful. It's kind of crazy watching that.
So imagine being able to do that, but as far as you can see.
And with good performance.
Yeah, and with good performance.
Oh,
Yeah, one of the challenges, you know, when you think about performance, often when people come to me with Gaia, how well does it run? And I go, well, depends on what you put in there. And we've tried to address that problem as well. So, you know, this system allows you to dynamically configure what type of content is being displayed and then how far away it's being displayed.
This looks great. So, for people who want to get into this, where should they reach out? Because this is not available everywhere yet, right? You're kind of slowly opening this up to people.
Yeah, because it's new, we kind of we want to work with skilled studios to I guess finalize the product and get rid of the rough edges, and also to tailor it for their specific needs. But then we'll open it up to the wider audience, so people can go to our website and go under products and enterprise and Storm and register and contact us. But yeah, we've got our first metaverse customer using Storm. They've got a 900 kilometer square environment. It's huge. And then we've got another customer who we're validating it and optimizing it for low-end mobile. So, or when I say low-end, just 4-year-old devices. But how do we get 60 frames a second, rich and high-quality content running on older mobile devices?
So that's going to run on phones.
Yeah, phones, VR, AR. So that's the aim for it. You know, a generic acceleration and you know, just a new way of rendering stuff in Unity.
Wow, it's definitely super impressive. I'm amazed. So I'm curious, not to distract a little bit, but what's your background that makes this possible, that you're able to do this crazy stuff? Like, where does this come from?
I'm a knucklehead. My background's enterprise tech, so I've been doing technology for over 30 years commercially. And once upon a time, built a digital agency to about 100 people and sold it just for the GFC. And I kind of got left to, you know, what do I want to do next? And I thought, oh, I really like, you know, I'm curious about people and how they work, and 3D is pretty cool. So I ended up opening up Unity about 12 years ago, and you know, I tried to create a terrain, and it took me 2 weeks to create something that was really abysmal, and that led to this kind of obsession. I'm a little bit OCD, I think, about creating beautiful environments. And what I really love about, say, what we do in the games industry as compared to pure, you know, like I built banking systems and all this sort of stuff in a past life. This is a combination of art and technology, and I love how you can mix the two together. And actually, you were talking earlier about how friendly people are in this industry. It's so cool. You can talk, you know, I've talked to gods of the games industry, and like you say, you try not to be starstruck, but it's such a friendly industry as well.
Yeah, I've seen exactly that too. Especially having a bit of corporate experience. It's you don't just walk up to the corporate CEOs very often and say,
No.
You see Carmack though, go hey, have an interesting conversation. So it's very cool. On the GDC side, is there anything you would recommend for people coming to GDC, or anything you really like about it? I mean, I'm sure you do a ton of meetings during GDC.
It's been really interesting. Like, it's wall-to-wall meetings, but the actual show itself is awesome. It's so much fun to wander around and see the huge amount of creativity there. You know, if you're somebody like us who are a tools company, you find a lot of customers just by walking around. Have you ever had problems with it? So, but yeah, it's just it's a great environment. When I first came to GDC, I was just overwhelmed by how big it was. Coming from Australia, our events are not quite as large.
I can imagine it. Interesting. So that's cool. And how many GDCs have you come to?
Quite a few now. Probably this has probably been number 5 or 6.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun, and I really like the just community aspect. I'm sure you get to meet tons of people that use your tools and
Yeah.
like I said, tell you all the great things and then tell you about their favorite bug.
Yeah.
Nuts. Which reminds me, I've got a Unity bug I need to talk to people
Yeah,
about
that's
later.
right. Yeah, watch this. Oh, you suck.
Yeah. Oh, so also the other thing, since we're talking a little bit about the asset store, what's that been like being on the asset store? Because you know, one of the biggest publishers, I think, on the store, one of the most popular assets. How have you liked that? What's that experience like? And was it something you would recommend other people get into if they have a unique and interesting idea? Or
Yeah, look, so Gaia launched in 2015, and a friend of mine that I'd met through the community, who is also another top publisher, spoke to Caitlin at the time, said, hey, check this out, it's pretty good. And so I was going, oh yeah, it's going to be live in about 2 weeks' time, and I'll get all my videos and stuff done by then. And it was featured on the Asset Store homepage for a week the next day, and I wasn't ready for it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching like crazy numbers of people live on the thing at the time. And then I was at baseball with my kids, and I watched the count goes to 0, and I'm going, what's going on? And then our friends, some friends said, hey, your asset's not in the store anymore. And I go, what? And so what had happened is some junior person in the asset store team, I'd included stuff from 3D Forge, Nature Manufacture, with their permission, and Cinti and so on, and they'd seen that and assumed that I was pirating the other assets. But what we were doing was we were co-promoting our assets. But so yeah, that got back up again. But it's been fantastic. Working with Unity has been really fun. They're very supportive. You get to come to these events and, meeting with the other publishers, and we've all worked together for years. It's you're just catching up with old mates. It's great.
Yeah, it's definitely a good community. I think I've met a lot of publishers, and it's interesting how everybody seems to know each other too, and kind of communicate and help each other, which I think is awesome. So
yeah,
I would recommend it too. Not that I'm a big asset store publisher, but I definitely recommend people, if they've got something cool, put it up on there. Are there any tips that you would give to people that want to do something, like any things that you would say, like don't do this or definitely do this if you want to start getting into making tools for Unity or for game engines in general?
So I would say don't do me too. Do something unique and original, and then study what works in the asset store. Why are those top publishers the top publishers? So before I launched Gaia, I had already had a big community. I was very active on the Unity forums. I was communicating with people. So that's the other interesting thing. As an engineer, I kind of more introverted, and my instinct is, marketing, I don't want to do that. But you actually do have to do that. Be proactive, respond to your customers. Every single review we've ever got over the years since we've been on the asset store, we've responded to, and I think that says something about a publisher as well. I see publishers put assets up there and there's no responses, and I'm going, dude, you're telling the wrong story to your customers.
Yeah. That was probably me and my one asset. I feel like it's a lot of work. There's a good amount of support that you have to do to make sure that everybody's understanding things. And somebody asked in chat if Australia was a real place. Is this?
No. It's fake. It's the Earth is flat.
Is this a big scam that's been going on?
I'm really a NASA plant or something or other.
Faking the accent.
Yeah, you arsies. You arsies.
Awesome. So there's another question here. Is this Storm compatible with virtual reality? I think you kind of hinted that it was, right?
That's the plan. Our early testing on Android had really good results. So AR, VR, that's something we definitely want to go to. Actually, Storm, you talked about being on the asset store. That gets you a lot of exposure. And I was at Unite Berlin, and through the asset store, and I had a stand there, and out of the crowd came BMW, and then we ended up doing quite a significant VR project with BMW, and that was actually what led to Storm, because some of the performance challenges we had, I went, well, we need to solve this, and because we've kind of made it work in VR. But now, many years later, finally we've got a product that's launching.
That's a really interesting origin story too. Just coming from, I feel like that happens with a lot of things. So you build the tool for the app, and then realize that the tool is even more useful than the app itself, like that underlying tech, which I think is how a lot of the people that I've talked to building tools kind of got started. Well, I think we're just about out of time, Adam. This was awesome. If people want to grab Storm, just go to proceduralworlds.com
and navigate through enterprise products and Storm. We've got a form there. Just register. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We've got quite a good list of registrations already, and as we launch this, we want to work with people that understand game development, have something that's a bit challenging and something pretty cool, and then hopefully we can work together, and we can help your game look and run better, and you can help us grow as a company.
Nice. So one final question on this performance thing. Sorry I said just let you go, but dots. Does this Storm all work fine with dots? I would assume that there's no real issue, right?
It'll be.
So you're going to do a massive scale, high performance, and I was just thinking of a couple people I know building massive scale dots games, and this actually might be really good for them. I just want to verify. So yeah.
So we use ECS and Burst. We started to work on Storm before dots was at production level, and because it's such a big undertaking to build something like this, we didn't want to deal with that early. The introduction of URP and HDRP wasn't that fun, but one of the things we're looking at as we evolve the product is actually to then transition it all to dots.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, I would imagine no reason you couldn't use it now and then just get more performance out of it later. Well, again, thanks again. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. It's really good having you. We'll have to do a full hour too. Just talk about Storm as soon as you're ready.
Yeah.
Just go deep into details.
I'd love to show you more. Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Very nice. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. So next up, in just a second, we're going to have Opsiv on, and they got some really, really cool stuff to talk about. I will get a link in the chat in the description for all three of these and some of the other stuff. If you haven't checked out the sale, by the way, I just found out about it this morning. It just went up. There's a new 3D Essentials sale. It's a bunch of 3D models. There was some interesting stuff on there that I've got myself, some really cool ones. And there was one, what was it? I have it right at the top of my head that I was really excited about when I looked through the list. I'll call it out as soon as I remember. Anyway, are you ready to hop on in?
Let's go.
We'll talk about some new animation stuff and maybe a little bit about character controllers.
Character controllers, AI. Yeah, we know a thing or two.
Yeah. So welcome.
Thank you, Jason.
If everybody, I'm sure you've again. Let's get ourselves on camera so you can see us. There we go. There we are. Yeah. So, why don't you just give the introduction?
Yeah. So, my name's Justin Mosman. Okay. All right. My name's Justin Mosman. Founded Opsiv. I don't know. It's 2010, I think, was when we first incorporated, and then released our first asset on the asset store in 2012. So, and then our main asset started selling as Behavior Designer, and that one we released in 2013. And so we've been on the store for a while and just been kind of slowly growing it from there as we've been progressing.
Nice. I know a lot of people have used your assets, including myself, multiple times. In fact, I was actually looking at switching over a game that I started building to Behavior Designer, because right now I've got a very simple state machine. I coded it up and was like, okay, that worked. I was like, all right, nope, now I need something more advanced. I'm not going to build it. I'm going to grab one, and yours is, I think, the top rated behavior tree setup. So
I am so glad we made Behavior Designer. that has been such a good asset, and people have gotten such amazing results with it. So we're actually right now we're working on expanding it to doing a DOTS version of Behavior Designer, which I think will also be really cool.
oh, interesting. So can you talk about what led you to make behavior design, or what kind of kicked off Opsive? What was the origin where you're like, that's it, I'm going to start making tools and form a company?
Right. Yeah. So we did a couple of mobile iOS games, and one of the things that we needed for that game was a glow effect shader. And so I was searching on the asset store, couldn't really find anything that would work for our needs, and figured, might as well create it, and then ended up creating something generic enough that could then be put on the asset store as well. And so our first asset released was what's called Glow Effect, and it was in 2012 for, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks, so not much, but that kind of led me to believe, there's something to this asset store. We could kind of take it further. And so then kind of was doing a couple of shaders, but shaders are definitely not my background. Adam knows that a lot better than I do. So then switched to an Infinite Runner, because at that time, one of the iOS games that we made was an Infinite Runner during that time period. And so released that. That did decent. And at that time, I was working a full-time corporate job, and I'm like, I need to go all in with this. And so end of 2013, I ended up leaving my corporate job and just focusing on Behavior Designer, taking a little bit of a risk, figuring, I can always go back to my other job if I need to, if this asset store thing doesn't work out. So then it took 4 months to create the initial Behavior Designer version, released that in February of 2014. So we just passed the 10-year mark of Behavior Designer, and was kind of working on expanding Behavior Designer as much as I could. I kind of got the idea for Behavior Designer because there were a couple of behavior trees on the asset store, but none of them kind of did exactly what I think they should be doing. And I was, for my graduate degree, I was focused on graphics and kind of AI type stuff. So I kind of knew the idea of behavior designers. I never implemented it in an actual game, but I kind of was researching it and that type of stuff. So then I figured, hey, let's release this asset eventually called Behavior Designer. And the big thing with that was, in addition to kind of the user interface, the runtime kind of performance and all that type of stuff, was we integrated with Playmaker. And I think that's what really kicked it off, was this Playmaker integration, because now you could have a behavior tree and a finite state machine all within kind of the same graph.
That, to me, that makes a lot of sense too, because it's you're already in visual state trees, right? And you got that market of those people that want to do it, they want to draw it out, and now you're making the next part possible. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's all just you saw this need and wanted to build it and thought you could do a better job, and then just did.
It ended up working out, and then at that time, it's kind of funny how everything kind of worked out, but we had noticed that there was this tool called UFPS on the market, and it was doing really well in the first person space, but there wasn't a third person equivalent of that. So then we thought, why don't we make a third person equivalent of UFPS? So we released that in 2015, about a year and a half after Behavior Designer, and kind of slowly grew with that. And then I got this email from VisionPunk, the UFPS publisher, saying, I'm wanting to leave the asset store. Do you want to acquire UFPS? And I was like, yeah. So we ended up making that happen, which it was kind of strange that I was using UFPS as the model for our third person, and then got contacted by Cal, who was from VisionPunk, to end up purchasing UFPS or acquiring UFPS.
That is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
They're your inspiration, and then, wow. That's like a buddy of mine that wants to buy EverQuest 1.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one day.
Right.
That is really interesting. So, I don't want to run out of time. I want to get into the new stuff. So, you've got something new, and it sounds really amazing. So, you're going to tell everybody what's going on?
Yeah, so we have a couple of new projects going on right now. First one that we just released, or kind of just soft launching, is called Omni Animation, which is an AI animation generation service. And we're actually at GDC kind of going to be talking to Unity about getting it on the asset store as well. Right now, it's just a pure outside service, but I'd love to get it in the asset store ecosystem. So we've been working on that project for about 3 years now. This was before the whole generative AI was even a thing. And I came to a team and, well, at first I was like, I have a computer science background. My wife has a stats background. Oh, we should know machine learning, right? That should be easy. So we spent about the summer kind of trying to learn machine learning. There was like a free intro Stanford class or something like that, and we were like, oh, we should be able to handle this, but no. It ended up taking 3 years and a team of 4 people in order to kind of do what we wanted to do, and there's just so much more that we still want to do with kind of AI generation. We're just at the start of that. So that has been an interesting project that's been kind of outside of the asset store. I wish that I had the understanding of the development of it, but it's been fun kind of doing the project management side of things and seeing where that leads.
That's really cool. And the AI stuff, it's weird that you started it before the big boom too, because
Right.
there's so many things that have kicked off in the last year.
Right.
And you're a bit ahead of that. And how is it going? So what's the state of Omni Animation now, and how do people get into it?
Yeah, so the state is we're completely beta right now. Still kind of figuring out what users want, figuring out exactly what type of parameters, what type of or what type of text are people inputting and using as their generative animations. So at a high level right now, what Omni Animation can do is just use text to animation. So you input a text prompt, and then based off the animation library and the model created, it will generate a animation based off of that text prompt. And then we also have kind of a parameter-based generation where, let's say that I have a female zombie who has a large step size and can run really fast. Well, I can kind of input these parameters, hit generate, and then it will generate an animation based off of those results.
Oh, cool. And if people want to get into the beta, is there a way to do that, or?
Yeah, it's completely an open beta. So just go ahead and sign up on omnianimation.ai. And we have kind of all the promo material on that site, and then it can run in Unity. You download an FBX, and so yeah, you just import that FBX into Unity, and it runs without any sort of issue.
Well, yeah, people should definitely check that out. I'm gonna have to give that a try when I get back to the hotel tonight. You talked a little bit last night too, about some of the training stuff and how you guys were going about getting your training data. I assume you're just stealing it all from Assets?
Oh yeah, we take it all from the Asset Store in Mixamo. Yeah. No, all the training data we own. We have been recording using an Xsens Link suit and hiring actors to record those motions for us. Kind of one of the notable actors that we've been recording is an ex-military guy who has been firing the assault rifles, has been firing the pistols. We've gone to a shooting range. We've done kind of the actual recordings for Omni Animation. So yeah, all the data is owned by us, and we have no issues with copyright, because I know that has been a big thing in the past.
Yeah, it's always a question, a thing that pops up. And again, can you tell everybody what the page was again for people watching, listening?
Omnianimation.ai.
Just go straight there, and we'll put the link in the description too, so everybody can go check it out, sign up for the beta, and then get into there. Outside the animation, are there any big updates for any of the other tools, or anything coming soon on any of those that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I briefly hinted at it, but Behavior Designer 2 is going to be coming out, or I don't know what I'm calling it, but it'll be the DOTS version of Behavior Designer. And that has been just completely rewritten from the ground up to take advantage of DOTS, and the editor will use visual elements. So it's just a completely brand new product focused on performance, and I mean, performance in the editor as well, since you're using visual elements.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure, especially people using dots will love it. Does the new version work without dots?
Yes, it does.
People are doing game object stuff and
Yeah, it-
still take advantage of it.
It definitely will. I'm not gonna get rid of that market. Yeah, no, it will 100% work. You won't even necessarily need to know that you're using dots, even if you are using dots. So I've run hundreds of thousands of behavior trees at the same time using this new system, and I don't really know what need you have for that, because generally a behavior tree is a little bit more complex than what a standard bot would need. But I guess if you want to, you can.
Yeah, I struggle to figure out what I would do with 100,000, but I'm sure somebody will.
I'm sure. No, I'm probably going to get a bug report saying that the 501,000th entity just ends up crashing everything, but it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I can see it. I feel like people want to push the limits. Now it's becoming possible, right?
Right. Oh yeah, it's amazing the performance gain that dots gives. So it's been a challenge to learn kind of the right techniques of dots, but once you get over that initial hurdle, I think it really opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah, it certainly does. It makes some impossible things possible.
Exactly.
If you want to do something that wasn't possible before, it is certainly the way to go. So we got a few. I know we're almost out of time, but I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about Behavior Designer specifically, and about who would be using that and how they go about like who the right person is for that. Because I know like I said, I'm going to be pulling it into to my project because I've got some more advanced AI beyond what I want to code out in a state machine. And I think that it's important for people to kind of understand what Behavior Designer is and what that does. So can you just talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so
you're the expert on this, so.
a little bit, yeah. So Behavior Designer at a high level is a visual way to design a behavior tree, and a behavior tree, even kind of taking another step back, is just a flow of showing how an era, the flow of a AI for the logic, and having this visual editor for describing that flow makes things so much more easy to play with and kind of change around and iterate on. You could do everything in code, and some people actually have used Behavior Designer, just the runtime portion of it, and generated everything in code. I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot a bit, because you have this editor that will make everything work really well. So it just kind of makes getting an AI working relatively painless. We include a lot of tasks, so a lot of built-in functionality is already there, and it will allow you to, like, I don't know, a basic example is, say that you have a bot that is just walking around. Well, there's this task called can-see-object, and then you can add that task and then say, when you see this object, move to this position or fire this weapon or do whatever. So it's just a very nice visual way of creating your AI. And we've had people, I mean, there's really no one person who's been using Behavior Designer. We've had scripters, we've had designers, we have had our artists, we've had pretty much the whole range of people, just because it's really intuitive just how to use it. Once you get over how the general behavior tree logic works, using it is no problem.
Yeah, I feel like it takes maybe an hour or two to figure out that, okay, no, it's flowing down to the next one. Oh, that condition wasn't met. Got it.
Right, yeah.
Once you get past that, it becomes super powerful, and then you can visualize and see exactly what's going on, and you're not debugging, stepping through code, which is what I'm doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and if something isn't exactly working correctly, you can just change the nodes around or something. You don't have to go into script, recompile, and do all this type of stuff. It makes iterating extremely easy.
Yeah, it's definitely an awesome tool, and like I said, I'm going to be integrating it into the game that I started building a couple weeks ago, replacing all my creeps and my jungle bots. It was when I got to the point where I was like, okay, I want bots that will run around jungle, go kill NPCs, loot stuff, come back and buy things. So I was like, okay, doing this in a state machine is getting to be a pain.
Yes.
It's time for something else. Like, no longer a simple solution, let's use the good one.
Yeah, for AI especially, you end up with a spaghetti mess with a state machine. And behavior trees just make that so much easier.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for making it. And Omni Animation, if you haven't checked out the omnianimation.ai page yet, looks like quite a few people are already there. Go check it out, sign up, get into the beta, and grab some of the opposite tools. Are any of them on the sale today, do you know? the 3D sale that just kicked off?
No, not
Okay.
that. At least not that I know of. No.
Well, yeah. Go take a look anyway and see just in case, and grab Behavior Designer if you don't already have it. Give it a try. All right. Well, thank you
well,
very much.
thank you,
This
Jason.
was awesome. I have to come on and do like a full demo
Oh,
on the
definitely.
animation and Behavior Designer too. Sometime.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Oh,
great.
definitely. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in just a little bit, we'll be hopping on with some of the Unity people at 9. I guess it's gonna be 9:45. So about 25 minutes. So I think what we'll do is take a short pause just to adjust the cameras. I'll probably just mute myself and just adjust the camera. You need to set up. We're gonna have. Is it still 3 people? 3 people from Unity. 3 experts from Unity talking about some of the cool stuff that's coming out with Unity 6, some of the things that are being announced at GDC and all that. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So hang on for just a few minutes. I'll keep an eye on chat. Like I said, I'm going to mute for just a moment while we adjust the camera and get it set up to be able to fit a few more people. Microphone mute, microphone mute. All right, mics. And one more. Hello. All right, we're going to be back in just a second. The right mic on? There we go. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. So, in what do we got? About 20 minutes, we're going to have quite a few people on from Unity. We're going to be going into some of the new announcements, some of the Unity 6 stuff, and we're going to be taking some questions from chat. So if you've got questions for the Unity developers about Unity 6, about some of the stuff that maybe you've seen talked about already, or some stuff you're curious about, start dropping those in chat. And if I am able to pay enough attention to it, I will call those out. Let's see. Is there an echo in there? Paul said he's hearing an echo. I wonder what that is. I don't see anything. Oh, I do have my... There we go. I need to mute my laptop anyway. So, no, we are not in the booth. We're right now at the Unity office. We'll be heading down to the expo floor after this, though. So if people are down there, go say hi and chat for a few. And then I'm going to take a short nap and go to a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Okay, you don't hear an echo, just quiet. So I forgot to take a thing... Oh, if you got to take one thing home from the Unity office, what would I pick? I don't know, wherever the money vault is. So just take that. I take the pot of gold that's down there in the bottom. There's a pot of gold down there, right? Yeah, in the treasure vault. Yeah, probably that. No, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff here. So let's see. How do we know the performance differences, comparisons between Unity and the other game engines? No. I know that Unity with dots tends to beat most stuff. So other than that, I'm not sure what exactly you're talking about. can you ask them if they're working on cutting-edge lighting features like, yes, real-time GI, denoiser, ray tracing, and path tracing? Yep. I wonder if people are going to start asking about the other stuff, too. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm going to wait and see what people ask about. I got some ideas. I'd say. Let's see. Yeah, anybody got other questions? Start getting them ready. We're going to be live with them in just a minute. Oh, I see Johnny here. So it's later on this week, on Friday, I think was it 1 o'clock? Johnny's going to be doing a live stream. So 1 o'clock Pacific, live stream from the Unity office focused on dots. So I think that'll be really interesting. I will be watching from the airport while I'm getting ready to fly home. Just sitting there watching the live stream. It's going to be really cool. So yeah, hi Johnny. It's really cool seeing you, and been hanging out the whole week or the beginning of the week. So let's see. Any news about Cinemachine 3 when Unity 6 comes out? That's a great one. I'll have to get into that. 'Cause I remember seeing the preview about Cinemachine 3 like a year ago or so, and getting pretty excited. I'm curious to see where that's at. Let's see, want real-time GI, virtualized geometry. Yep, I agree. I think that's another thing that people are curious about. And what's the new? Hold on. Can we get what's new in the docs for Unity 6 as the beta's out now? Interesting. I wonder if the documentation is updated with like the latest and greatest changes on Unity. I wonder, is there like a patch note thing that just has like high level? Oh yeah, no, just talking. For everybody watching, talking off screen. Yeah, is there a high level thing that shows the like big changes in Unity 6, or the big changes like for every version? That's not just like the full list of changes, because it's kind of hard to see like the key highlights. Is there one for Unity 6 that's already out now? Not yet. Is that coming at GDC? I wonder, or shortly after sometime. We've been telling a lot about it in the roadmap section, so that will be a great place to start. Okay. Yeah. So I got to see the first one on Monday. It was really good stuff. So exciting. So yeah, I don't know if that's there yet, Paul, but I'm sure it'll be there soon. They offer any updates similar to what UE5 did to make it beneficial to upgrade their game from a previous version of Unity? Great question. If there's any big changes kind of to push people over like Unreal 5 did with, people had a reason to definitely switch if they wanted to take advantage of those things. So we're wondering if there's any of that with Unity 6. I think that'll be a good one to get into, and what kind of things those are that are kind of pushing it. And then, yes, that's going to be an interesting one too. The question here about the .NET Mono and Core CLR change. Is that coming in Unity? I don't know. I remember I think, just for everybody to know, and we'll get an update from the actual people who know in just a moment, but from what I saw in the session on Monday, I think that was coming after Unity 6 or late in Unity 6, probably after though. So that'll be an interesting one. I'm just happy that we got the new .NET framework though, and I can grab NuGet pack. When I started, I really love this library. It's in the new version. I love this. It's too new. Can you backport this? Nope. Nobody ever wanted to. So it's really cool to be updated. This is definitely going to be a lot of fun. So, is anybody here watching from GDC other than Johnny, of course? I'm curious if anybody is hanging around. Is it too loud? Somebody said volume check. Am I blasting your ears out? I can turn myself down just a little bit. I am going red. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll turn it down a little bit. It's probably just me yelling into the microphone and using somebody else's instead of this little guy. I'm supposed to lick that microphone, but I'm licking my friend's instead. You're welcome. Would love to be here. It's definitely fun, so if you happen to be in the area, you should come check it out sometime. Come to the next one. Went to the Taipei Game Show? Nice. GDC is a little too far. I could see that being a bit of a trip. There are people here from everywhere, though. People travel from all around the country, the world. There are other countries, apparently. I've heard of them. Apparently, Australia is real. That was one of the questions earlier. Is Australia real? But yeah, it's interesting meeting people from all around the world and get to talk to a ton of people. It's a lot of fun. Just developers making all kinds of cool stuff, and I actually had a lot of fun. Monday, got to meet a lot of developers of some of the biggest games that are out there. I don't want to say all their names, but it was interesting talking to people who founded games because they really liked playing a game like it. Like, hey, what was it that made you make this game? Like, oh yeah, I just love Counter-Strike and played 10,000 hours. Like, decided I wanted to make something even better. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's very interesting and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend people come out. Yes, definitely at GDC for the people asking there. I met a guy who traveled 39 hours to get to Taipei. How do you travel 39 hours to get to anywhere? That seems very, very difficult. You've got to struggle to make it take that long to get around the world, at least nowadays. I'm still waiting for transporters, though. That's when I'll start doing international travel regularly. The last time I left the country was in the 1900s. Literally. It was 1999. I've tried multiple times after that, but I just end up getting sick or having some other thing every single time. So I feel like I'm just not supposed to leave the country so that I won't find out that the other ones aren't real. It's all a scam. Dustin's in here. From Argentina, said it's in a small village. Okay, I could see that. Like long travel just to get to the plains. So Jason, do you think shaders will get replaced by software? I mean, shaders are software. So, but I mean, I think that shader writing will probably get replaced by talking to a computer and asking it to make this thing look a little bit shinier or make it have fur. You know. But yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question though. If it'll be replaced by software, I think software developers will be replaced by AI. But not for at least another 20 years. So got plenty of time to get old and retire and all that stuff. But yeah, it'll happen eventually. So we got about 10 more minutes. Get going. So yeah, anybody got other questions or thoughts about Unity 6? And All right. Well, that microphone seems to have just killed itself. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think I killed his microphone by touching the cable. It's this little guy right here. Let's see if we can fix this real quick before everybody hops on. Otherwise, we'll be switching to a single stream. Alt F4. I know that hotkey. Johnny's in here. All right, let's see. Can we get a second? There we go. Got it. We are better. Let's mute the other one. All right, looking good. I just got to not touch it and not mess with it. Jason, you're messing with the microphone too much, muting and making mechanical sounds. Yep, I will keep my hands off it. It's weird because I'm in a situation where I don't have my normal things to just fidget with and play with. I can't just constantly adjust my chair and grab all the things on my desk, so I'm grabbing the microphone instead. Let's see. Yes, had to go lick the microphone. I feel bad, but I actually have licked it multiple times. I tried to pretend to lick it, but I missed. And yes, Unity 6 will make you a winner, Galileo. Great question. Oh, let's see. Let's get this in position. Yeah, so has anybody seen anything in Unity 6 that they're excited about? Or in 2023, in any of the earlier iterations? I'm kind of curious. I mean, for me, there's been a lot of things that have kind of stood out and made me upgrade, but I'm curious where everybody else is at. Are you all on 2022, or are you all upgrading to 6, or? Okay, I missed what I said because I was muted for a second. It's okay. I wasn't saying anything too exciting and important. The exciting, important stuff will be when there are other people here sitting next to me. Those are the people that all know all the cool stuff. Oh, adaptive probe volumes. Those are there. Then very awesome. Some wonder what quality of life features are. Seems like a lot of nice improvements. New lighting. The build window is nice. So if you haven't seen that, Galileo's calling it out. The build profiles window, you pull that up and you can actually set up your builds for all of the different platforms. I use it constantly because I keep doing Linux builds, and it's definitely a good feature. Happy to have that there. It's a big and for people who haven't seen it, I think it started in 2023.3, so you have to get 6 to see it. You'll see the old one before that. Make sure you grab that and check it out. And the multiplayer improvements, that's one of the big things for me. Multiplayer play mode is a big thing, kind of pushed me that way. And then just the new multiplayer stack in general is very nice. It's easy to work with, nice and simple, and just much better than every one of the ones I've used in the past. At least, and I've used a lot of networking libraries. I'm just glad I don't have to write them anymore. Looking forward to multiplayer improvements. Yep, multiplayer play mode is gold. Yep, it is. I'm still waiting for version 1 when it's 100% bug-free and gets past the occasional domain reloading issue that I have. But it is great, and especially on my laptop. Like, I want to play multiplayer and do multiplayer dev on my laptop. It's not capable of just opening up 4 editors, but I can do it with multiplayer play mode somehow, which I'm not sure how it magically just eats up less resources and still got the whole window there. But it seems to do it, and it's been very helpful. Well, that and Parsec. By the way, if you haven't all tried Parsec, you go grab it. It's free. Unity bottom, I don't know when. And then I stumbled on it in a webinar. Somebody mentioned it, and it has saved my life for development. I do all my development on a high-end desktop from my remote laptop, just sitting on my lap, nice and chilled, never gets hot, and I get 4090 performance with no battery loss and a touch screen. So it's awesome, and it's free. I don't know how long it's going to be free. I feel like I should stop saying it's free because then they're going to start charging for it. It is very great. So I think we're going to start in just 1 second. And got everybody here. So let me mute and we'll get set up real quick. And we'll be on to talk about Unity 6 in like less than 5 minutes. So hang on real quick. Mute it. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we are here with the Unity team, a bunch of awesome people from Unity that you've probably seen before on stage and on a bunch of the different talks. And they're going to be talking about Unity 6. We'll be taking some questions from chat, talking about what's new, what's coming out, and what's being announced at GDC. Probably the main thing, right? We'll talk about what you're missing if you're not here or not going to all of these sessions. So welcome, guys. Thank you for coming. And I'm going to have you guys all just kind of introduce yourself. I think we'll start down with Laurent on the end and then just go towards me, and then we'll get into what's going on with Unity 6, okay?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Laurent. I'm leading product for Dots and multiplayer. Do you want me to talk a little bit about Unity right away? We're just doing an intro
Well,
right
let's
now.
intro first and then go right into it. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Bowell. I've been working on the product management side of Unity Editor Engine for the last 8 years, so I've kind of got to touch a bit of everything we do in the product. And today I'm focused a lot on our kind of foundation and some of the graphics pieces with Matthew and our entities work with Laurent. And excited to tell you all about Unity 6.
So, I'm Martin Best. I've been doing product management for 1 year shy of Andrew, so also somebody who's been around a while. My focus for this interview is on platform support, which I've been doing for the last few years, and I'm also was one of the main drivers between Pack and the car in figuring out all the things we should put in for Unity 6.
Hey, hi, I'm Mathieu Muller. I'm product manager for graphics, and I've been at Unity for soon 10 years, so it's good.
Yeah, and you've done some really awesome talks, too. I always like watching it. It's just all the stuff that I hardly understand. I'm like, whoa, it's fucking amazing. Trying to learn stuff, so it's very cool watching that. So, can we talk just a little bit about kind of high level what's going on with Unity 6?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The big stuff.
The big stuff, yeah. So, I mean, where have we come from? So obviously, just to kind of level set, so we shipped 22 LTS obviously last year. That's actually going really well. Just servers where we have about 60, percent of all of our actively worked on projects are currently on 22 LTS. So that's really nice that people are picking that up, and we're seeing some really nice data on kind of the quality of that release as well, which is awesome. And that's actually the theme, one of the big themes for 6, right? So we wanted 6 to start with quality and stability and just be a release that feels super solid out of the box when you boot it up. So a lot of the teams are working on, that's kind of the priority, right? It's just going back through their backlogs and cleaning up everything. So that's kind of the foundation, if you like. The other big thing, and we'll dive into, I'm sure, with Matthew, is obviously rendering performance. So rendering performance and lighting were two big areas of focus for us. There was some amazing work that the teams did on kind of, just essentially utilizing the GPU more, which was some work that we've had ongoing for a couple of years now, that is now landing into 6. And that's actually great because it's kind of the basis for a lot of other cool things we can do, when we're obviously doing more work on the GPU. So, and then on the multiplayer side, so it was an opportunity with 6, and Laurent will no doubt speak to this, to really kind of, take our end-to-end stack that we've been building for multiplayer, bring it together with all the services, things like our relay services, Matchmaker, and get that kind of really into one cohesive unit. Multiplayer Center is probably a good example of that. And then obviously Martin and his team working hard on all the platforms. So some pretty, actually I gotta say, this release has a lot of really nice pieces for mobile, for XR, console, some really awesome work that
Apple headsets.
some very hot new devices. Yeah, if anybody wants to donate one to me, I'll happily take it.
I've told the Apple people that myself.
I know, and you know what? They're not even for sale yet in Europe, right? Which is where I'm based in our Copenhagen office. So yeah, I've got to wait even longer. But so obviously our platform work is super important for us. It's like one of the core pillars, right? So for us to, as we move forward. So yeah, so I mean, those were kind of some of the big themes. There's a ton of performance and just making Unity go faster under the hood. A lot of really cool stuff on our entities work, and lots of really great stuff with UI Toolkit. But just in terms of the big things we talked about on Monday, it was really about rendering, really about multiplayer, about our platform work, and of course some of the performance pieces. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered from that talk, and I want to get into the graphic stuff in just a little bit. As the check boxes, I'm like, oh, I love it when there's just a checkbox that I can check, and suddenly I'm going to get performance a lot of the time. I just check it and see. That's amazing, and there were quite a few of those. So we talk about that just a second, and then I want to have Laurent go into the multiplayer stuff, though, and dots, because I know you got to leave first, so I want to make sure that we get to that and then dive into the graphic stuff. So you can talk about what's going on with netcode and dots. I'm curious about both, but which one are you most excited about if you have to pick a baby?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all. I love all of my children the same.
I've practiced that answer myself.
But I have to say, there's a few things that are kind of more exciting in the short term, and then things that are kind of more looking forward to the future. In the roadmap session, we talked a lot about Unity 6, but we also unveiled and given some more details about what's coming up after 6. So we kind of need to separate those two conversations. So if we kind of talk about multiplayer first, that's where I'm the most excited, in the short term. 22 RTS added a bunch of foundational stack to be able to do a range of multiplayer games that we couldn't really do easily out of the box in Unity before. So that's super exciting. But at the same time, the engine itself doesn't, always feel like multiplayer first in all of the different parts of the editor and the engine. So for us, Unity 6 was the opportunity to step up the creative experience itself. Okay, foundation are pretty good. We can ship games with it. That's going to go to all platforms with the performance you need. But now, making it easier for everybody to actually grab that out and make a game is really important. So 6 is coming up. We have 1 million features around the creative workflow. It starts, like Andrew was mentioning, multiplayer center. We're gonna have a place in the editor where you can play with your gameplay parameters, how many players do you think you're gonna have, and what is your cost sensitivity, and a bunch of different parameters that are often very hard to navigate for creators. What are all the things I need to learn so that I can know what to learn? It's kind of this discovery phase of what is multiplayer about. And so we're kind of trying to guide the experience there and highlight the tools, the tech, the educational material, the sample that can get you started. So multiplayer is about this, and then basically one click, bring me to my project, the elements that can help me experiment as fast as I can. And then you mentioned multiplayer play mode. Everybody's extremely excited about multiplayer play mode. I think there was some question in the chat about some of the performance, how does it work? Or maybe you were making the comment of it.
I was a lot of bit curious about that, how it works. So how is it able to do so much better than just opening up 4 editors?
Yeah, so basically what it does is share the overall project and assets and just spawn new processes that are kind of slider version of the editor, that you're going to still have some of the logs and some of the elements of the editor in there to see what happens with the different clients. But it's kind of magical in the sense that you basically go to play mode, it spawns the separated processes for you, just use the same project asset, and boom, you kind of have different clients working together. And we kind of brought it one step further, because doing your playtest locally with different processes, that's super cool. You can catch some of the early issues, but then the next step is involving a playtester, somebody else from your studio. So we started pre-integrating Relay, for example, so that you can actually reduce the complexity of networking, connections and everything, and just get to play mode with somebody else that might be remotely located on the other side of the planet, for example. And then we took it one step further, and you can, if you're having a dedicated server, for example, so you're going to select your client, build server configuration, build them all together, then get that dedicated server to upload to Unity Gaming Services, and boom, get the clients to connect to it. So that overall getting the experience together tries to shorten the path to initial learning of what is important for your game, get into playtesting that your gameplay actually works in multiplayer, then get to involve older playtesters, and then basically have close to final shipping game configuration for your multiplayer experience, and get a sense of that all working, and then basically go to a publisher and make your pitch, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I gotta dig into a couple of things that you said there afterwards too, because I didn't realize some of those things were there. But I've been a big fan of the way that things have been integrating into the editor with that stuff. So being able to, for instance, deploy cloud code stuff directly from the editor, not have to go through external UIs and stuff. Once that's there for, is that coming for dedicated server stuff? So that we'll be able to just hit a button in there and deploy it, and I won't have to do a build and upload my package.
Well, you still have like the build and the upload are kind of integrated into the the workflow, but it's all done for you. That's the point.
Yeah, so it'd be all automatic. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, as a general theme, like, what we're trying to do is bring everything back to the editor. So we've, like you say, we've a lot of different services and things that we've built, and they don't always integrate with the editor as a sort of first-class citizen. And we think we're realizing now we've got to really prioritize that, just to kind of give everybody, I mean, kind of clues in the name. Unity, should be one platform for everybody, that one editor that they can come to and kind of get their hands on everything. So you'll see that from us as a theme, kind of as we move forward from here, which is pretty exciting.
Nice. I think it works really well for discoverability too. Once things are in there, people know that they can do these things, and they know that some of the stuff's available. Because I feel like a lot of the things, like for instance, Asset Manager, most people probably don't know that it exists or what it does. In fact, to be fair, I didn't really understand the full depth of what it was and that it was actually useful to me until yesterday. When I looked, I was like, oh no, this, I would use this for 2 different situations, and I'm going to use this when I get home. If it was just a window in there, I probably would have just played with it and discovered it. So I really like that you guys are putting that stuff all into there, and also just updating all of the packages. And I don't know whose side this is on, but I'm going to say thank you for the packages for the services side. The new unified one. Yes.
Yeah, the multiplayer SDK. Yeah, that's going to be a core foundation of that experience in 6, like making it easier to have all of those different services available from a single SDK. That's going to make life a lot easier. And pre-integration, also those things in the editor is going to make it easier. We're introducing also the concept of widgets, like so that you can experiment quickly with some of the services before you actually get to pre-production. So let's say, for example, you get to play the game and like, hey, would it be fun to actually have talk to each other while we play, and then get to experiment with like integration of Vivox in like a few clicks, so that you can try it out and see how that feels before you actually make your choices.
Oh. That sounds really interesting. Is that part of 6, or is that an after 6 thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
coming as part of the multiplayer center. So I think in 6 we're going to have a bunch of those. We're probably going to be adding more to it as we go. But yeah, the overall idea is to speed up experimentation.
That seems awesome to me.
And then, a quick word on performance and dots. So there is a lot that is coming up beyond 6. We do know that it's not going to be part of 6. It's going to be like in future versions of it. But there is a lot of work that is being done in just making dots value accessible to more users without having to force everybody to understand ECS. And that has been a recurring conversation with everybody. Like, everybody can see that dots can be extremely powerful to help you like grow your game into more complex scenarios, more complex gameplay, and so on. But it's daunting a little bit. Like, it's, thinking about, okay, how do I need to write my code? Now I need to remove some of the game object behaviors and bring them into systems. It's quite a shift. So the general idea for us is to slowly bring ECS and game object closer together in a general idea where pretty much everybody's going to get some normal like performance boosts, whatever you've been using the systems, even if they're based on game object, and at the same time making you like one step away to drop down one level and actually write a system based on ECS and still manipulate your game object data. So we're kind of going into steps like this, and we hope that soon we're going to have like some versions where you can try it out for real. And we have like many different teams at Unity actually starting to use ECS in the context of the editor, so that we can also speed up the general authoring workflows. I've been mentioning in the roadmap animation and world building, all workflows that will be based on ECS, so that you can really speed up like the actual simulation of animations of world building, but at the same time get to use that at runtime too. Most of that will be accessible to game object development. And then again, if you kind of step into one level down and want to take control of a specific part of the simulation, then you step away to doing it.
Interesting. I really like that it's getting the kind of some of these performance benefits for the people who, like I said, kind of get done. I mean, I've got a ton of experience, and I still look at them like, maybe.
Yeah, no, it would be magic if we could have a checkbox that says like, you know, the boost button on your PC, you know.
I had a turbo button on my PC, and then they
Yeah.
removed it in the 90s, and I've been wanting one ever since.
So one of those things would be like, definitely you mentioned that a bit earlier when you were kind of checking the question on the chat, but core CLR migration will like be a hell of a new set of horizons for developers and delivering performance across the board, across the engine. So unfortunately, not part of 6 at the moment. It's going to be a future version, but we made very good progress there, and the teams are kind of hard at work to bring that together.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. So there is going to be a version after 6, though. It's not the final.
I hope
version.
so.
We were having a discussion about Microsoft's final version of Windows 10 yesterday. So it's always fun. That's really cool. So any other really like big things with Dots that people maybe that aren't following it should know about? And also, are you going to be on Friday with Johnny talking a lot more about this stuff in depth, right?
I didn't plan for it, but maybe I should.
Somebody's
I don't
going to be
know.
on with Johnny talking about it. I don't know. Oh, maybe Johnny's just going to be on talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so the last thing maybe we should mention is because we haven't been like over the years always consistent in how we're supporting features, you know, over time. We wanted to kind of send a good signal that we're very committed to the dot stack. So if you check in your package manager, you're going to see already an ECS 1.1, 1.2. We're already working on a 1.3. There's millions of fixes and improvements, not millions, sorry, but a lot of fixes and improvements that have been kind of reported from production environment on 22 LTS. And so what we're working on right now is to fix a lot of those and deliver them back on 22 LTS, just to smooth out the experience as much as possible for people that are kind of, you know, the first adopters of ECS in production, and making sure that they have the best experience there.
Shout out to Mega City Metro as well.
Oh yeah, okay. How could I
Yeah,
forget
you
this?
should mention that. You're going to tell everybody what Mega City Metro is?
We put a lot into
Yeah.
6. So.
Yeah, it's been
How
a
long do we
ride. Mega City Metro is like, well, so let's be clear. Like when we were kind of sitting down with, you know, users around 22 LTS and even previous versions when we had experimental packages for netcode and so on, first question everybody had is, okay, did you try it yourself? Like because it happens sometimes, you know, like we were kind of struggling with certain amounts of quality in certain areas, especially for new development. So we decided to do it for real, you know, eat our own dog food, and kind of play test for real with more than 100 humans, like an actual competitive gameplay that will be cross-play compatible, working on mobile phones, working on, you know, different things. I even have it here as kind of working on my phone right now. I should have started that maybe earlier. But basically, like my phone is not too recent. It's S20. And yeah, I have Mega City Metro that's kind of running there. So hopefully I can start that pretty fast. Sorry. I'm going to get single player, so I'm kind of skipping the matchmaking process. But it's pre-integrated with Unity Gaming Services, so it gives you like a general example of how, you know, to wire up a good workflow. And yeah, it's been play-tested with more than 100 players. It works on mobile. You can ship that on platforms and everything. So yeah, we're super excited to basically close the loop on a lot of those technologies and basically say, yeah, we're kind of, you know, making sure that we actually build ourselves games that are capable of using our tech, and obviously dogfooding that and improving the stack as we go.
I think what's also really gratifying is, so when, I don't know if Jason, you remember, like in, I think it was Austin 2018, Unite, we unveiled Mega City, the first version.
No,
we
it
actually,
was-
or was it
It was in LA.
in LA?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And,
I remember that one.
yeah. Was it 17? Yeah, sorry, it's all a blur. But the but it was actually running on mobile back then, admittedly, as a kind of a almost concept that we could.
That
we
was
could
the
get it.
Steve Jobs moment. You pull it out. Oh yeah, and it runs.
Exactly. So here we are. I mean, admittedly, you know, it's a few years later, but it's awesome that we've kind of finished the job on that. You know, it's yeah.
And the thing is, we did it in, you know, real conditions. So about 4 engineers, a couple months, and half a dozen artists that just we did the assets to port it to URP so that it's really compatible to all platforms. And yeah, it was actually pretty fast. That's kind of one of the value proposition of Dots, because this one is based on Dots, is that you can like have a very flexible evolution of your gameplay over time because it's all well organized systems and behaviors, so you can remove and add features, pretty easily. So yeah, we kind of turn around the whole Mega City project based on your RP, integrated with all the Unity gaming services, and it's been a pretty fast process.
Yeah, I feel like DOTS has that advantage of forcing you into at least a reasonable architecture. You can't make I'm sure you can, but it's harder to make a big mess because you've kind of got this.
You definitely can.
Yeah, you can with anything.
But it helps.
You have a template and kind of a starting point, not just a start and update, figure it out, right?
Exactly.
These are the ways that you go about it. Before you have to go, I'm curious about one thing, and I don't know if you can talk about it. The unified netcode stuff. Is that something that's being talked about at GDC, and is there anything you can share about
we didn't
that means?
We didn't make a specific point here on the roadmap session because we had so much to talk about Unity 6. But yeah, definitely that is still going on. So what we're trying to do is, if you're familiar with Netcode for Game Object on the stream, you know that there's a bunch of features that everybody is waiting for, prediction, rollback, that kind of things. But that stack, unfortunately, for performance reason, is hard to evolve in terms of bringing like super efficient rollback of simulation on all clients and server. So what we're doing is basically taking the implementation of Netcode for NDDs that is super efficient, super scalable, and then wrapping that under something that is very similar to Netcode for Game Object. General idea is accelerating, delivering to Netcode for Game Object users the prediction and rollback features we're missing. It's running on ECS, but for you don't have to actually understand that implementation fully to be able to leverage those features. So that's the general idea. We made progress already, like the team is developing that. We have some early versions already working. So that's not in Unity 6, unfortunately, but we're working on that very fast.
Okay, awesome. So is that a post-Unity 6 thing? Okay.
So there will be another version. That's
It's not the final version. You have to wait until you get to X. That's the final version, right? You don't want XI. So Interesting. Okay. And then the last thing on the networking side, there's the new mode, the distributed authority. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually when you're trying to make a multiplayer game, you have two big scenarios. One is you're going to be hosting the sessions on the client, and that's super cheap because you don't need any infrastructure. Okay, just get one of the client, host the session. But usually you get in some of the player experience problem of like maybe that client might disconnect and then everybody get disconnected, or maybe they're going to get into latency issues and then everybody is kind of paying the cost of the latency issue because they're the host. Then the next option is go fully in and have a dedicated server in the cloud, but that's very expensive. So we're trying to find a middle ground here where we're basically building a model where you have some amount of cloud services that get a hold of the state of the gameplay, just to make sure that all the clients get the same information, but we're running the entirety of the simulation on clients. That's what distributed authority means, is that everybody basically has a part of the authority. You can even migrate that authority from one player to the other, so your session might be resilient to somebody disconnecting, for example, without any problem. We've even been playing where everybody disconnects, and the set of the game is still there. It's not progressing because there is no more, anybody to simulate it. But then clients reconnect and boom, the games, resume basically. So that's a cheaper option than dedicated server. You're going to have better latency experience, better session, persistent experience, but you don't pay the full cost of the infrastructure. Now, let's be honest too, the best experience you could get to a player is a dedicated server. But again, if you can, pay for it and you can still want to go beyond pure client hosted sessions, then it's going to be an amazing option. And we're even seeing larger productions doing them both. They would have a mode where maybe for the least experienced players, they're going to give them a distributed authority, kind of setup where they're going to be having maybe not exactly the best latency experience and so on, but still the game's running. And then as the player gaining experience, then they will migrate them over to dedicated server to give them the best experience possible.
That is an interesting way I hadn't thought of. I mean, I could see it totally for the people that are doing client authority already, right? It's an obvious next step up if your game needs it and it makes sense. I totally see that, but I hadn't even thought about it as a stepping stone, so you get all those free users in and wait until they start becoming actual users that are competitive and paying and start to afford the cost of the service. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's a great like step in success, because you can, even get started maybe on client hosted things, and then as your community grow, get into distributed authority, and maybe as you get successful, then you can go full on, with a dedicated infrastructure.
Nice. And I don't know how easy it is on the dot side, netcode for entity side, but I know like with netcode for game objects, it's super simple to make that conversion and do that switch to dedicated server, or I assume to distributed authority. It's probably
Yeah, those workflows will be the same,
Very
like
simple.
close enough. Yeah.
yeah. So it's easy to just change them around. I've switched projects back and forth from peer-to-peer to dedicated server multiple times just to see how it was and to try out different things. Like, oh no, this is going to be a dedicated server game. No, I changed my mind. Oh, I changed my mind again. So I
Changing your mind is pretty much game development, right?
yeah, I get indecisive. I try to make decisions at the last possible second. Like, is this a multiplayer game? We'll find out the week before launch. Right?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you, Laurent. I don't know how much longer. Do we have?
I'm gonna have to go. Thank you so much for reminding me all the things I forgot to talk about.
No, thank you for sharing this stuff. And if people want to find out more about Dots, what's the best place to go check that out other than Johnny's channel?
Oh, well,
They already know about
Johnny's
that.
channel is a pretty good place to go to, but definitely like we're super active on the forum and on the Unity Discord server, well, actually the engineering teams themselves, so please don't hesitate to ask questions over there. You're certainly going to have like a Unity folk jumping in and giving you some hints.
Yeah, that was my experience too. I've seen the reply on the multiplayer side especially. That's where I've been posting comments every now and then. Get like a reply instantly, and it's really good stuff. And find out about new stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely. So thanks again. Really
Yeah, no
appreciate you
problem.
being here and
Have
sharing
fun.
all this stuff. I'm sure we'll see you around soon.
Yes.
Thanks, Laurent.
All right. So can we get into the check boxes now? This is something. So yesterday I saw the demo and you go, click frame rate, click frame rate, and yeah, I mean you did mention that there are some scenarios where it may not apply, but can you talk about what some of those new awesome things were that people are going to be able to click and improve their game?
Yeah, no, it's true that it's very strange. We actually had a discussion internally if we have to make a checkbox or not, because it's like, why do you make a checkbox if it's just faster? But yeah, so we added a lot of things, and it's very hard, because in my experience, 20 years I think in computer graphics, it's very rare that you can do things which actually give you performance in most cases. Like you always do like, oh, we're gonna improve that. Then you work on it and it works in your case, and then when it's a full game where there are bottlenecks everywhere, then there is no improvement. But I think I really hope, like, people tell me if it's true, but I think we see on the forum a lot of people saying, wow, I just enabled it and it works. So that's really reassuring already. We also tested it on a lot of our projects, and even with projects which are like not the particular best one for these cases, it even give boosts. So have you seen the keynotes at Unite 2023
Yeah.
Fantasy Kingdom, right? Like this one, for example, is really optimized for this new technique, which is called GPU resident drawer, because we had like millions and millions of small pieces. We use Fantasy Kingdom assets, and it's like every house was like little, like each wall was like 20 small pieces. If you, actually, like, we never show that, but like inside every house you had like tables and plates and forks. It was like even like if you were going in the bar, you could see all the taps with like 6 different beers, and for this, like, it was, of course it's magical because you go for like the GPU resident drawer. Basically what it does is it's based on the batch renderer groups, which were introduced in Dots initially, which is also bouncing on the fact that we wanted to bring performance for everyone without having to use specifically Dots just because you want to have good graphics performance. So we took the batch renderer groups from Dots and made it apply to all game objects. And to quickly explain how it works, basically you, instead of like going through your scene and then you do some kind of batching and then you send a command to the GPU and then you execute that command, like we batch things and then we put them into large buffers very quickly using parallelization, and then we send these large buffers very quickly, so it's like a very fast transfer because it's just like sending a big piece of memory. and then on the GPU we process that big buffer very fast using compute, so that we can really go super fast through the rendering. And it's something which is called in general GPU driven rendering, which means like instead of having your rendering being driven by CPU, it's driven by the GPU. And because most of the games are CPU bound, or a lot of them are CPU bound,
Most.
and so you have always this extra piece of power available on the GPU. And we see also that we are able to limit the GPU cost as well, so it really works together super well. So yeah, for the Fantasy Kingdom demo, you have like these millions and millions of instances, and then you can just pack them very quickly into these buffers, and then just process them. So it's great because you have a lot of instances. So instead of like having, like for example, the fork, which is in like, I don't know, 700 houses, you have just like the fork once, and it's there on the buffer, and then you just process it. So it's great for that. But even like in things like the URP samples, I don't know if you tried the URP samples.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A couple times.
And like it's not like it's the opposite, right? It's like it's the opposite of like huge scalability where we put tons of instances. But even on these ones, like in most cases, you gain performance, even if it's not like there are tons of instances. So it's pretty good. I really think that that people would be happy about this one.
Yeah, that's a big one. And is there the limitations on the hardware that it supports or anything like that? Where does it all
Yeah,
run?
so it's like, because it requires compute, it's not like a super high level of compute, but it requires compute. So on XR, like nowadays it will work almost everywhere where you deploy. On PC consoles for sure. For mobile, there will be some level of hardware where it won't work. But we automatically fall back on the other system, so it's really transparent for the users. Nice. So it's just like not using it, but it's so you don't get that performance boost. But like we see that really still the min spec for games are going up through time, and
they always do.
and most min spec phones these days support this. So yeah, it's pretty wide.
Nice. Oh, and then is this available in just Unity 6 and going forward?
It's just Unity 6. Yeah, it was a huge work. Andrew was mentioning it has been like 2 years of work, I think.
Nice.
Because we really had to change this fundamental piece of Unity, which is like, how do you parse your scene and send it to the GPU, which was like there is code in there which was 20 years old, I think. And we had to rewrite it. So it's also like we gain a lot of performance by just also rewriting that piece. When you enable this, you just go through this new path of sending the geometry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a long time. So it's impossible to backport it for sure. Yeah.
That is really cool. Like I said, I remember when the GPU instancing checkbox appeared, and I was like, oh, look at that! Instantly, frame rate went up, and all I did was check a box. It's really nice. And the occlusion culling stuff, you were kind of previewing that a little bit too. Is that part of, does it use the GPU resident drawing
Exactly.
to do that?
Yeah, exactly. So it's because you have GPU driven rendering, then suddenly you're parsing your scene on the GPU almost. So you can add a lot of things in the way here. So you can add, that's where we added a GPU occlusion culling. So basically we render an extra visibility pass. And then each frame, based on like the previous frames, we kind of we decide what's not visible, like what is the geometry which is hidden, and we just discard it.
Okay.
So the thing is, like here there is a balance because you have an extra visibility pass, and on the other side you have much less geometry to render automatically. So if you're not bound by the geometry, then you can have actually less performance because you have a pass which doesn't give you a boost. If you're bound by geometry, then you need this geometry bound to be better than the extra pass. Yeah.
Makes sense. And I assume that wouldn't work with like the mono behavior callback for visibility change.
No, it's totally,
It's all on the GPU,
it's
right?
totally, it's like really it's really when you decide what you're gonna send for pixel shading, it's like, okay, don't send this because we know we don't see it.
Yeah.
That's just that. Yeah.
That's really awesome. Are there any other really big rendering features you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, like for performance, the last one, which is really magical. I don't know if you remember in the talk, like is STP, spatial temporal post
I
processing.
missed it. I had a meeting in the second half,
yes,
and I missed
saw
the
you-
second.
you
I
were
was so
leaving,
sad.
yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I gotta
I
leave.
thought you didn't like what I.
No, I was loving it. I was like, I gotta leave, and now they're gonna think I don't like this. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is awesome. I really want to stay, but I had to get back
Okay.
here for a meeting.
No, this one is really crazy. You know, like one of the biggest advancements in the past few years is upscaling. You know, like
Yes.
it's why do like you have to render like 4K, which is just crazy, right? Millions of pixels to render every frame, sometimes on a mobile phone, and each pixel cost. Like the shader and the post processing, it's very hard. So like of course, being back to a world where you're on a Nintendo NES with just a few hundred pixels by a few hundred pixels would be perfect. And so, like, there were a lot of advancements in upscale. We work with a lot of partners, with NVIDIA, with AMD. We integrated their systems and so on. But one issue that we had is sometimes some of them were exclusive to HDRP because it was requiring some passes that we didn't have in URP at the time. And the second problem was cross-platform. Like, how do you have a good upscaler which works also on mobile and on consoles, and you can rely at least on this one as a baseline? So we had one of the best guy in the world for that, who came and created the STP, so spatial temporal post processing, and it's really magic. Like if you go on the editor, you go on the project settings, and in URP it's the render scale, in HDRP is the dynamic resolution. Like you choose STP as an upscaler, and you can have the render scale of, so you go at 1, you can go at 0.5, which means 50%, which means a quarter of the resolution actually.
Yeah.
So you instead of rendering like this, you just render that. It's impossible to see like if it's rendering at full screen or not. And then you go down at 30%, and then you're like, I'm still not sure if it's activated or not. And like it's really like at 10%, so you're rendering this, and this is where you start to see that it's shivering a bit. It's really impressive. Like when we were doing the Fantasy Kingdom demo, Ves was the art director, who is super picky about lighting and everything. We like many times we were like, "Are you sure it's activated? Because I don't see it." Like it's are you sure? And then we were like, yeah. So we had always to crank it down to 10% to say, yeah, okay, I think it's activated. And the thing is, like, it's a lot of mathematics behind this, but basically it's based on accumulation. So that's why like you get maybe a very small part, but which gets accumulated through time. So you get back the precision of it. So yeah, it works. It's really impressive.
That's crazy. It seems like magic to me.
It's
Like-
really magic. Yeah, it's really like upscalers are, but they are everywhere. You know, in movies now there is not a single movie which is rendered without an upscaler down the line. Like it would be crazy to render all these very expensive pixels to the full resolution, because nobody would see the difference. So, but now it's available every frame on the engine on a mobile, so it's pretty nice. So yeah, it's like this one is really magical as well. Especially this one, like if you open the rendering debugger, I don't know if many people didn't actually follow that. You know, you go into Windows Analysis and rendering debugger, and yeah, and so on this one you have display stats which are available in play mode. You can look at the GPU frame time, and you see like yesterday I was showing it, 4K was like, I don't know, 20 milliseconds or 18 milliseconds in the editor, and then you go down and you get to like 8-9 milliseconds. So it's half of the GPU frame time because you're rendering so much less of the.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. You must see like huge performance
It's-
increases.
Yeah.
And just check a box.
Exactly.
The
Again,
drop down.
yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Wow, that is amazing. I assume if you guys haven't tried it out, I'm gonna go play with this. I haven't played it. I'm actually switching a project over to URP next week.
Okay.
So it's a new one. A lot of asset store stuff. So I hadn't made the switch yet. But next week is my time for the swap. So this is gonna be fun now that there's a ton of features and I don't have to worry about optimizing as much.
Yeah.
Pretty much whenever we survey customers and say, hey, what do you guys want most? It's performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just made my job easier. Now, so you're saying I don't have to worry about performance at all, and I don't have to think about that. Just throw stuff at it.
I mean, why people
And then you'll fix it for me.
why people always ask for performance, because it's never like you always care about performance. That's always what gets on your way. But
Yeah.
we're just trying to. I think we spent more than 50% of the people just working on performance this time.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. So I think we're running short on time.
Yeah.
Are there any other really cool things that you want to mention real quick?
Yeah, there is render graph, which is really interesting. Like touching on this very quickly. So like one of the problem is that usually a render pipeline is something that you've coded.
Yes.
And so it's these render passes that you chain, and the more it gets complex, the more you have these render passes, and like, oh, if this was not activated, then I move this stuff so that it works together. And this is something which is impossible to know as a user, like how the render pipeline works. And there are a lot of optimizations that can be done depending on how the render passes go after one each other. And if you insert something at the wrong place, you will prevent reusing the same memory. Or if you for example, on mobile, like the hardware actually works in tiles. Like you have really dedicated hardware for each tile, so that you don't have to copy the full buffer, because it's very expensive. And so the more you can do your calculation only in this tile and not like copy paste basically, or bleed the full buffer, the better it is. And so it's very important to know if your pass is able to reuse the memory without copying the tile. And it will totally change your battery consumptions, for example. And so render graph, what we did, it was introduced in HDRP at the beginning, was to say, instead of writing the pipeline, we fill a graph saying, there is this pass which needs this resource, and which will output in this resource, then put it at the best place. And this comes now to URP as well. And if you open the render graph viewer, which is a new thing which is shared across URP and HDRP, you can actually see all the passes, what resources they're using, and how much they can reuse the previous resource. And then when you create your own pass, your own custom renderer features, you will see them there, and you will see how they inject themselves. Do they correctly use the thing that was here? And when you click actually there on the resource, you will have an explanation. Oh, it didn't use a resource because you're using this stuff that you didn't really properly set up. So you can go back to the API, and we help you making the best usage of that memory.
That's awesome.
It's complicated,
Yeah.
so we never had time to explain, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would also, it would be good for the graphics engineers that are developing stuff and debugging things, but it also seems like a good way to help the people who want to kind of get into graphics programming and really struggle to understand how it all works, and if you can visualize it and kind of step through and see that, and it seems like a good learning resource too.
Exactly.
So I'm thinking for myself.
No, and you know what? It's crazy. You can even click on the pass, and it opens the code.
Oh, okay.
So for each pass, you exactly know what it's doing.
Yeah.
And many people are like, it's slow, right? And it doesn't mean anything. It's just like what depending on what you've activated, you will have more or less render passes. And so if you look at this, for example, if you change the quality settings in the URP samplers, you open the render graph viewer, and you will see why it's faster, because just there are less passes. And you understand, and so it's a very good way to actually for everyone to understand what is happening in the rendering pipeline.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with that next week when I do my swap. So I think we're just about out of time. Do you guys have any final words before we go? I didn't even get. I wish we had like another hour.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're gonna get kicked out of here. Otherwise, I would go forever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we hit the big rocks. The only couple things that I'll say quick is on platform support. Platform support, obviously, Unity 6 is the first time we have mobile web support, which I know people are excited about.
Very.
We've been seeing like the hardware is getting faster. They're supporting better. Like Compute is finally coming with web GPUs, so you got experimental web GPU support you can turn on. And then we also see, obviously, we've got a whole slew of best practices that we're showing people, like in addition to the improvements we've made. Check out those best practices, because often we find if you do both of those things, you can get really, really good load times. The other thing is, of course, MR is huge. Apple Vision Pro, totally
Especially
awesome.
around here. I keep seeing them walking around everywhere. Yeah.
What's been really weird is I walked up to some people in the office and tapped them on the shoulder because they're wearing one, and they're like, "Oh, are you working on an Apple Vision Pro? I didn't know that." And they're like, "No, I'm using it as a monitor." Which is like, if that trend continues, Apple's going to be real happy. Anyway, but the thing is that we have, of course, the 3 modes in there of, you can get that full immersive mode. You can get the, so VR. We also have, like, if you're just doing a windowed app, you can use it that way. And of course, we're the only ones to have the mixed reality where you can actually inject your 3D content into a shared scene using, that has polyspatial under the hood. So looking forward to people playing that in Unity 6. That's all in 22. So in Unity 6, we're going to be building on that. So with things like better scene understanding, so meshing and bounding boxes, so, persistent anchors, so you can start to place things around the world. So a lot of our work is going to be about, over the next little while, how to bring in the real world more into your experiences, because the pass-through is really, really opening up that window. So then the last thing is the build window and profiles. Yes. This is huge. I've been trying to get this done for 3 years, so seeing the first step happen in Unity 6 is so awesome. This is basically trying to get away from everybody having to branch constantly. Mm-hmm. So in Unity 6, you're going to see the first steps of this, where you can go in. Let's say you got an Android build, you can say, hey, I want to have these settings for my debug build, I can have these settings for my production build. We find that people are trying to ship to different stores, they have all sorts of different configurations. We want to make you not have to keep leaving the editor in order to control that, so check that out, let us know. We're going to keep building on it to make it more and more powerful, but Unity 6 is introducing that concept. Nice. Yeah. And then lastly, Sentis, which is part of our AI story, which is that you will now be able to run inferences cross-platform right on device. So it's sometimes impractical to use cloud in order to have AI run. And so if you have an AI that you want to use as part of your game loop, Unity 6 will be the first time you can do that cross-platform. So
nice. Yeah, I felt AI on device is going to be big in the next coming years. And so is that web GPU stuff. You talked about that a little bit. I think that's going to be another big hit for Unity 6 and beyond.
But there's so much good work in this particular version. Like, please check out the roadmap talks and other things. I wish I could represent the team well by just listing them all. But we've done, there's an awful lot of work we've done to do.
Yeah, and thanks to all your viewers for all their feedback and everything over the last couple of years. I think that's always culminates in the releases that we do. Yeah, basically. So
there's one more thing. For all our PE users out there, the splash screen is going away. And
my
particular favorite.
That they were excited about that.
So I was going to say, we definitely wanted to thank all the PE users and make sure we did that. So.
Yeah, I've always thought the splash screen should be a pro-only thing. You gotta buy into it and make it a nice, fancy, flashy one.
Yeah, we actually are doing that. Yeah. So but the thing is, the splash screen, the way it used to work, was very sort of forced. Yes. Whereas it's more about, do you want to put a scene in that has a splash screen? That it is designed to be much friendlier. So it's not like that same. Because you may want to play with the ordering and whatnot of how the splash screen works with your logos, etc. So it's more like, here's our branding as opposed to.
Yeah. And I saw that a little bit in 6, playing with it already. So. I actually put in some logos. I didn't do a good logo. I grabbed a random icon. I was like, oh, that is really cool. I can just do that now. So that's awesome. Well, thank you all again. Andy, you got any final words?
Well, just to say, obviously the beta's out there. We've a couple of thousand people on that. Preview's coming out in a couple of weeks. The Unity 6 preview.
May.
That's
all that. That's not that many weeks.
Sooner if we can do it.
and that will be fully supported all the way through until we have our full release later in the year. So just get on it. We'd love to, see what you guys can do with it, basically.
Start hammering it and give some feedback.
Exactly.
And I will be killed by the lighting team if I don't just mention adaptive prop volumes before leaving.
Yes.
This one, they have a full time.
That's amazing.
So don't hesitate to book us sometime. Because it's just fantastic again.
Very big apologies to all the teams.
UI. There's a whole pile of amazing stuff. In 6,
so just need like an 8-hour session.
All
of this stuff. Really a lot of fun. But I would love to talk to all of you individually sometime and just go in depth on some of the stuff that's coming out as soon as you're ready. So that'd be awesome. Thanks again for
Cool. Yeah,
coming
thank
out
you.
here.
That's
This
good.
was
Yeah.
Very good.
amazing. I had way more fun than
Cool.
you guys probably know. It was a blast. So
Good.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Okay.
All right, and
Cheers.
yeah, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Don't forget to go grab the latest version of Unity. Check out that sale on the asset store. You're probably watching it there right now. Go grab some of those 50% off assets, including that castle and those monsters. And yeah, we'll see you again. I'll probably be live